want to hear from the different breakout groups, see what were some of the highlights and takeaways from everybody participating in this. So I'm gonna call first on the second work group. So if there's anyone that would like to provide their highlights, I'll just hand it over to Deidre and Jonathan, who were facilitating that conversation, to help us share their highlights.
Jose, can you put that Jamboard up and then we'll take live notes on it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Let me get there. Yeah.
I have the Jamboard up to take the report back notes.
Oh, perfect. Can you share your screen, Maya?
Thank you, Maya.
So we heard a lot of things. I'm just going to pull out a couple of kind of top line things, but if other folks from room one want to join in, we heard a lot about engaging with CBOs in terms of doing outreach, engagement, and follow through. We also heard a lot about simplifying outreach material, providing it up front for people so that they can judge if they want to participate in a meeting or not, or process or not. And using a lot of sort of infographics, simplified language, and keeping things up front. And then also really attending to issues of language justice. Inclusive of that is ADA access, sign language, paying attention to for folks that are colorblind, etc. Jonathan, do you want to add anything to that?
I think on that outreach topic as well, we heard about having better interagency coordination. And so, not just reaching out and working with the CBOs and getting the word out, but also with our agency colleagues that are working on similar work. And then I guess going to meetings and, what types of meetings are most useful. We heard a mix between in-person, hybrid, and virtual meetings, but to consider, especially in some disadvantaged communities, that internet access might be limited. So depending on, where you are doing your engagement, in-person meetings are still essential in some places. And then also during both virtual, hybrid, and in-person meetings, just to have some sort of way to have one-on-one conversations and really build those relationships. And so, in virtual, that could be breakout rooms, but then in in-person meetings, you have those more just organic interactions.
And we also heard a lot about, and this sort of fits with this engagement and then follow through, but just having staff that are familiar with a place, that are known by a place, that know a place, so that it's not just all Sacramento or Riverside staff, but people that are actually embedded in communities that we're trying to work with.
Yeah, and then another great suggestion we heard was about having maybe some pre-meetings with CBOs and others. So, even before we have our larger events, that we have these pre-meetings with our community partners that can help us, really get the word out and understanding about what we're doing.
And we heard a lot about making sure that whether it's virtual or in person, that meeting spaces are accessible and safe for community members. So, addressing kind of micro and large aggressions or racism, sexism, making sure that communities aren't walking into hostile spaces with hostile staff.
We also heard a suggestion to attend maybe some other community meetings that the community itself is hosting, so we can learn from what's being done there and apply those principles to our engagement efforts.
Anything else folks like to share, or can we go back to room 1 to share their highlights?
I guess I had one more in terms of follow through, just being as transparent as possible, not in terms of just like the why we are incorporating feedback, but also the why not. And so, that people are aware of, why we aren't doing certain things, whether it's statutory limitations or something else, so that there's just a better understanding. But if there's anyone else from our group that, wants to add anything that Deidre and I might have missed, please feel free.
All right. Well, thank you, Jonathan, Deidre, and breakout room number 2. So we're gonna go back now to breakout room number 1. So there was a lot of really great conversations. And so before, I don't know if anyone from the breakout group, if they want to share some of their highlights, some of the things that resonated with you, some of the things that maybe you had, a challenge with, or just kind of curious to hear your thoughts or takeaways from our conversation in the breakout group. Anybody would like to share? I'll jump in, and then I'll just maybe ask Amanda and Karina or others if they want to chime in. Of course, I'm not going to be able to cover everything, but I think from what we heard from Jonathan and Deidre, there's a lot of really similarities in terms of the outreach and best ways of how to engage with communities utilizing. We had comments about utilizing emails or texts and having newsletters. One thing that we heard that was really interesting is also having in how can we also make our website more accessible? For example, having a bulletin board on the website that lists all the different notifications that we'll be sending out to different communities that maybe can provide that overview of the different regulation or any actions or anything happening. So that was something that was provided as a specific outreach activity that we can do to make for information more accessible. Of course, in the same topic of outreach and communicating more effectively, of course, having accessibility of language, that was another thing that came up as the other work group as well, utilizing more visuals, infographics to make information more accessible. There was also comments about having less acronyms, and even if we do provide acronyms, maybe utilizing that as an opportunity to, let's say in one of the documents, if we have an acronym, maybe provide a hyperlink to provide more information about that specific maybe topic or the acronym themselves, just to kind of provide that background information, make it more accessible. Of course, utilizing interactive tools like GIS, story mapping. And one thing that we also see here is that it's important to keep people's time in mind as well when we're developing all this information, and making sure that also information is accessible and provided ahead of time of a meeting or event. Similar to what other folks mentioned, types of meetings having kind of a hybrid options and in-person meetings as well. And also the other thing that we heard is about recording a lot of these meetings to make sure that people that can attend the meetings have access to them at a later time. And having meetings with the intention to help create and build relationships, either to maybe having the small breakout groups to have folks participate, kind of get to know each other as well. And in terms of engagement and participation, things that folks have a process that have been going well, just making sure that that the staff, it's familiar, again, kind of familiar with the place, but having staff there is helping build that trust and really, you know, have connections, really find connections with the community. That was something that we also heard. And think things in terms of follow through and best ways to capture feedback. We had some comments about making sure that we're kind of keeping that kind of line item changes. One example that was provided here, how in the legislature, in the bills, they use strike-throughs and underline to capture changes. So that's something that folks, you know, think is also helpful to make sure that, you know, all the comments are being captured and heard as well. And of course, providing that transparency to ensure what is and isn't included. And kind of the same topic of follow through and how agencies like CAR can be better partners, thinking about, you know, how CAR can also be more proactive as an agency and be a lead agency as well, in terms of, you know, kind of providing that lead and bring different other agencies together as well to provide that leadership role within our work. So I think the other comment I see here, remember here, is also kind of having communities or staff in the ground, maybe having community liaisons to just kind of help build those relationships in the ground as sort of a long-term opportunity to build trust. So I think, again, I don't think I capture everything, but I hope that summarized. I don't know, Amanda, Karina, or others, if you would like to contribute anything else that I missed.
Yeah, I think just a couple other points I wanted to bring up from the conversation was how important it is that we're familiar with the place that we're going and what kind of needs there are, the culture, what works well for them. Because there can be that feeling of like you're an outsider and this is just you doing your job, but you don't really care about the specific community. So finding ways to overcome that challenge. And then two, I appreciated one of the comments that Beverly put in the chat, and Beverly, please tell me if I'm misunderstanding this, but just how confusing the calendaring system is and how we can do a better job of making it clear like what kind of meeting is on the calendar and making sure that they're all there and it's really easy to find the meetings that you're going to want to attend, and really easy to understand what that meeting is going to be about. So I thought that was really helpful in addition to the bulletin comment that Jose had brought up. And then to just making sure that we're talking to staff about actively listening, having those smaller conversations, and focusing on like those problem solving conversations instead of taking things, you know, straight to legal or straight to leadership, but trying to another way to build those relationships. So those are a few other ones I wanted to bring up. Thanks, Jose.
Thank you, Amanda. Beverly, I see that you're muted. Don't want to put you in the spot, but I don't know if you wanted to say something. Okay, good. So I think,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, it was an accident. I accidentally pushed it on my phone. Sorry.
No worries. Thank
But
you.
actually, though, let me clarify what the interpretation of what I was saying. I don't necessarily know what kind of meeting it is. Is it a public engagement? Is it a listening session? Is it a board meeting? Is it a what? I don't know. So I would like to be able to access the various presentings from CARB without having to know that thing, so that I then have to try to search for that. And it can take forever. It took me forever today to figure out how to get in. So it just to have today's date and here's maybe the topic without needing to know what type of meeting it is. Do you understand? Because they're listed under, they go, oh, is it about climate change? Is it about heavy duty trucks? Is it about whatever? And is it a meeting or is it a is it a listening set? What all of those different classifications, I don't know what they are. I don't always know what they are. I don't always capture it when I register. And so it takes forever to look through it. If it could just be on the date, I think it used to be on the date, the date's highlighted, and then it says, here are the events that are happening today. In the morning, in the afternoon, this time, that time, like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beverly. So want to thank everybody for taking the time and sharing all these great ideas. It's really great to see them here. So Maya sharing them with us. I think there's definitely some themes and topics that we heard over and over again in terms of just kind of generally speaking, making sure that all of the information it's available in a way that is easy to understand and also navigate as well. So definitely with that comes the topic of language access, making sure that we have materials translated in not only 2 languages but multiple languages as well if needed, and also having in mind the American with Disabilities compliance as well to make sure that everybody has access to the information, making it more interactive. I think there's also, I heard comments about just making the overall process more transparent, to just not only in terms of information, but providing all the details and key details about a specific meeting or the topic that is happening. So I think those are really helpful, informations that we're definitely taking with us and making sure that we incorporate that, as we revise the models. So I think, yeah, so I think I'm just gonna move us along to the last, kind of few things that we need to cover before we close the meeting. So if we can go back to our slide presentation, Maya, I think if you can stop sharing, so we can start sharing the other screens and get through the last slides here. Thank you. All right, so just in terms of next steps, again, want to thank everybody for such a great meeting and providing all your comments. Before we go, I just want to provide, sort of the next steps in terms of the different ways in which you can continue to provide feedback or provide additional comments. So first, we want to share that we do have an online docket where you can provide and submit your written comments, and the link is provided here. And you can also find it in our community engagement model website as well. We do have also an email set up. It's communityengagement@arb.ca.gov, where you can submit any comments or ask any questions. We are actively monitoring that email as well, so you can provide your comments here or questions. The third option is we do have a phone number where you can call in and leave a voicemail. We also, kind of record all your comments that we hear through this method as well. And the last kind of option to provide comment in terms of another meeting tomorrow, we will be having our last public dialogue session meeting. So that's another way for you to provide comments. So this is just sort of those next steps. Just to kind of wrap, yeah, so just as I mentioned, we have the last public dialogue meeting happening tomorrow. And after that, we will be meeting with our community experts to share some of the comments and revised model to get their final feedback as well. And by the summer of this year, we hope to be launching the model and also providing providing an additional summary for all the comments that we heard, and incorporate some of the ways in which you have, kind of share with us best ways for us to provide those changes and incorporations from all the comments we heard. So we will be doing that during the summer and also spring, summer. And also one of the last goals for this process through the summer is to begin training staff on this community engagement model. Just to wrap up, there's 2 last things we encourage you to do and help us for helping improving our meetings moving forward. So we do have this online survey, so we want to take the last 5 minutes for you to help us understand how this meeting was and how we can improve future events. So you will see the link here. My colleagues are also posting the link in the chat as well, so you can access the survey, or you can just take a photo of the QR code as well to get access to that meeting. And yes, thank you. I think I misspoke earlier. Thank you, Amanda, for letting me know. The meeting is actually not tomorrow. I thought today was the 24th, but no, I'm wrong. It's the 23rd. So our meeting is on the 25th. So it's on a Thursday. So I do apologize for saying that. And so with that, I just would like to thank everybody for joining us today, and hope that this meeting was productive, and you were able to make some connections with other folks. So we hope to see you again, hear from others as well. So I think with that, we can close the meeting, but I also want to mention, if folks have any questions or anything about the model that they would like to chat about, we'll be happy to stay a few minutes over as well. But for now, if you can help us with the survey, that will be helpful. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.